All right, I have three posters here. You see the first poster, the second poster is right behind this. And on this first poster, I promise that what I have drawn in blue is the graph of a function. So this function is called f of x. And I promise it's the graph of a function in the sense that what is drawn passes the vertical line test. Just before we get going too much, I just would like to ask to make sure, let's ask some algebra questions as a review and ask what is f of 2? Okay. So f of 2 is asking a question about what's, when the x coordinate is 2, what's the y coordinate? So we can take a look, right? When x is 2, y happens to coincidentally be 2, so the answer to this question is that f of 2 is equal to 2. That's a little unfortunate that we're using 2 in two different places here, right? This 2 is the x value, this 2 is the y value. Okay, and just to make sure, let's ask another of these. Let's look at f of, what do we have here? Yeah, let's look at f of 6. Okay, again, the deal here is to say, look, on the graph, as shown in blue, what is the y value when the x value is 6? And so just to show all the notation, f of 6 is equal to, let's take a look, when x is equal to 6. That point is kind of just drawn a little thicker so we can see it. It looks like that the y value is 4. At least that's the intent. There's no attempt to be tricking or doing anything like this. And let's just write out one of these in words, right? So here with the 6 and the 4, it's a little nicer here than over there. But let's write it this way. For the x value, or we could call that the input of the function. For the input x value of 6, let's just point to it right there with a little arrow. The function has as its output, or the y value, the number 4. And then we'll point to that right there. Okay, but then I want you to take a look at this poster, and you'll notice that there's a ribbon here that's hiding what's going on, right when x is equal to 4. So the thing is, I am going to erase this algebra work now and ask the key question here. Oh, not erasing. Oh dear. That's fun. Okay. So the key question I'd like to ask regarding this poster is, what is your guess? What's your guess of what f of 4 should be? Now we can't see what f of 4 is because there's a ribbon here hiding this. But if you had a guess for what f of 4 is, there's x is 3, there's x is 5. So where x is equal to 4, our guess really ought to be 3, right? So that guess that f of 4 is 3. And I'm trying to be real careful here, not even to use an equal sign, because we're not really saying that f of 4 is equal to 3. We're guessing that f of 4 equals 3. I'm even trying to avoid the use of an equal sign right here. But there is a way to write this. Okay? And that is the new thing that we're dealing with in calculus, is this thing called a limit. So the way this is written is because guess, it's a lot to write out the word guess all the time, right? So we have LIM, that's the notation, shorthand notation in limit, and then the function here without the number 4. But then under this limit right here, there's a little space, and you write x and then an arrow. And then the arrow points to this number 4 is equal to 3. So this is legitimate as notation to use. Read this out in words, and let's do this. This is that the limit of f of x as x approaches 4 is 3. Okay? The limit of f of x as it approaches 4 is 3. Let's please note that every single piece of this must be written. So we have just the name of the function here without the number 4. Okay? We've got lim, this x, the arrow, the 4. Leaving any of these things out is technically incorrect. So for instance, things that cannot be written, I wish I had a red mark here, but I have a purple one. You cannot just write lim f of x equals 3. That's not going to work. Okay, I was using this x arrow 4 business down there. Other things that people tend to write are things like f of x is equal to 3. That doesn't work. Okay, so just writing this part without writing that part, that's also a problem. So please avoid writing those sorts of things. I need to get you all used to this limit notation, and it takes a little getting used to it first, for sure. Now let's see what f of 4 actually is. So what is f of 4? That was our guess, right? Think of the word lim here, or lim, it's short for limit. Think of this as meaning, what's the guess? What's your guess for f of x when x gets close to 4? Right? When as x approaches 4. But now let's go ahead and reveal what f of 4 actually is. So you'll notice, and I'm trying to write this kind of side by side so we can compare the notations a little bit. The actual value of f of 4, we don't know until we look under the ribbon. And it turns out that there is a point right there. The y value is 3. Okay. So hold that up for a moment in case you decide to rewind the video and come back to this point. Okay, I would like to look at the second poster. Here's another function. This one is called g of x. And so I'm using a new letter called g, but let us write down limit as x approaches 4 of g of x. Now, what is our guess of the y value on this graph as x approaches 4? Well, again, there's a ribbon hiding what's going on, but our guess is that our guess for the y value is 3. Again, think of this lim here. It's short for limit. Think of, when you hear the word limit, think of it as the guess. Right? So what would be the most natural guess? And this is proper notation right here. And then let's go ahead and figure out what what g of 4 actually is. We can look under the ribbon. We do have to, there's a hole there. There's a point down here, and I believe that the y value for that is 1. So we can, it equals 1 right there. Okay, one more. Here's a function called h of x. Yeah, here's a function called h of x. And we have here the limit as x approaches 4 of h of x. So what would be the guess? The guess for the y value would again be 3. Okay. And what about the actual value? The actual value, there's none. So there's this unfilled point right there. So there's actually no point all along this vertical line when x is equal to 4. So there's no point at all. So this is undefined. This is undefined. What I'd like to say, to conclude this video and move on to part 2, is say that these are the guesses of the y values. And for all 3 posters, the guess really ought to have been the same, the most natural guess based on the information you have here. So think of as you see this limit here, think of this word limit right there as sort of being the most natural guess. Most natural guess. And the key point I want to make, and the reason I made these posters with the ribbons, is that these questions right here, there are 3 questions, and here are their answers. But these questions, these can be answered. These can be answered without looking behind the ribbon. Now, ribbon is actually a little silly, right? It shouldn't, a ribbon's kind of too thick. It really should be just like a piece of dental floss, but somehow that's not seen. The idea gets lost behind this. The other thing I want to do before concluding this video is just compare that your guess of the y value and the actual y value, they may match. Like in this case, we have a 3 here and 3 there. Or the guess for the y value and the actual y value could be different numbers. Or the guess for the y value could be the number 3, and yet the actual y value, like in this answer for this third function called h, it could be that there's no y value